Hello and welcome back to the Hunting Mirages vlog for February 24th, 2020. Just a quick one this week. I'm going to give you an update on a bunch of different things I've been doing. First off, I'm still working on my performance set. I've got a performance that I'm going to do at a party in 3 weeks, and lots of work going into making that all good. So far, you know, my idea for how I'm going to set this up is I'm calling it Guitar Karaoke, which means that I'm getting all of the tracks that I've released over about the last year or so, and I'm making a backing track of each one, and I'm going to basically just play the lead synth line over a backing track for all of the tracks. And so that means that I've had to go and reopen every project and remove all the mastering effects and normalize the volume and remove the lead line from each track and then make a new export so I've got a fresh backing track. And also to make sure, because when I first imported all the tracks into like the original versions of the tracks into a project and looked at them, like the actual sound levels were all over the place and they were all mastered differently and they all sounded different. So I had to go and make them all sound approximately the same loudness level and remove all of the lead lines. And doing that took me the most part of an entire day, just to marshal all the files and what have you. And so I've done that. And then another thing I did is that, you know, while I'm playing my guitar, I need to use that program selector script that I was talking about having written a couple of weeks ago. And while I was figuring out how to make that work, I needed to add a feature to it, and which is that I need to be able to choose not just from a couple of sounds, but sometimes I need to have several sounds layered on top of each other. And while I was figuring out how to do that with this script, I figured out a much better way to do the whole thing, and I wrote like a version 2 of the whole thing. It's now called the program selector. And again, you know, I'm going to do a future video where I explain how to use that for, you know, people who also use the UVI Falcon synth that I use, in case they want to use it too. Next thing I'm getting ready for is I'm going to do another photo shoot. If you've seen any of my previous websites, maybe you've seen some of my Facebook photos and avatars and things. I did a photo shoot about, actually it was about 3 years ago now, where I got dressed in some gear and I set up some cool neon lighting, and I just took some photos of me at my keyboard. You may have seen the shot of me wearing the goggles with my fingers on the launch pad. That was part of that photo shoot, and you know, I did that over the course of a couple of hours, and those photos have been really good for me to use for the last couple of years, but it's time for a new one. And so the concept, you know, the title concept of the shoot is Cyberpunk Guitar Hero. And so it's going to feature me playing the guitar and doing, you know, very punky, rocking out kind of poses and what have you. I've got some new lighting which I've received a couple of weeks ago. I may have already mentioned it. I'd show you some, but I'm using them right now for this video, so I can't hold one up in front of the camera because they're all in use. But I've got a couple of those the Aperture Amaran ALM9 lights that everybody says is a great cheap light, and I agree. I think you can see the results right now. So I also bought a very cheap smoke machine. I bought the cheapest one I could find because I've never owned a smoke machine before, and I figured it's probably a good idea just to, you know, see what I don't like about a cheap one before I decide to buy an expensive one. And it's a bit of fun, but I'll be able to have some smoke effects in the shots as well, which is great. BD Dubs, my partner, and I went into, you know, my wardrobe the other day and, you know, put together all the different clothing that we'd like, because I've got a whole bunch of accessories. I've got some new cool visor sunshades and things that I'm going to be trying out. And another thing I'm going to do for this one is I'm going to actually use some stage makeup. I've always wanted to do some cool stage makeup. It's a very cyberpunk sort of thing to do. I'm imagining, like, you know, very post-apocalyptic, just to sort of grime up and give you that sort of, you know, that very punk, you know, post-apocalyptic sort of look. And a great thing about doing this photo shoot, I'm hoping to do it next weekend, and a great thing about doing all this now is that it's kind of a dress rehearsal for, you know, a stage, you know, a stage get-up that I could have for actually performing. And, you know, if I'm happy with the experiments that we do with the makeup and the outfit and everything, then I'll probably lock in, like, that's what I'm going to wear for the performance. So that's exciting too. So that's sort of killing two birds with one stone, getting a bunch of new photos that I can use for, you know, websites and track images to put on track videos and things like that. So got that coming up. The next thing I've got going on is I'm getting ready to do some more art commissions. So the guy who did this artwork for me, his name is Trevor Story. I've contacted him again to say, hey, I really want to get some more art, because, you know, that picture has just been amazing. I actually commissioned that like about 2.5 years ago, and you know, the reason I haven't gotten any more done is because I've just got so many other things I've been doing, and the project's not ready, and, you know, I wasn't really sure what art I wanted. But I'm getting to the point now where I really need more art. The main driver is that, you know, I'm using this same image over and over again on my tracks, and for me at least, it's getting a bit old. Not old in that I don't like it anymore. It's an awesome picture, but I feel like I'm starting to overuse it. And I really need some more. And so I'm going to go back to Trevor. I made an initial contact again and said, hey, you're still doing commissions? And he's like, yep, no worries. So the next part of that job is for me to sit down and actually do a brief. Because, you know, one of the things that made this picture work so well is that I was really clear about what I wanted it to look like. And he basically created something that was like, not just straight out of my imagination, but was even better than I had imagined. And I think part of why that went so well, and I was been so happy with that image, is that I was really specific. I mean, I wrote like multiple paragraphs about, you know, exactly what's going on in the picture, and you know, what the story is and what the details are and what have you. I described the scene in a lot of detail, and then he made for me exactly what I'd asked for, except it was like 100 times the resolution that, you know, I was seeing it with, and it's just so full of details. It's beautiful. And, you know, that image has been a great, like, inspiration. You know, some people talk about having like a hero image, like if you've got a project and you've got a dream that you're going for, and you need to like find some image that is like the pin, you know, if it's like your hero, or, which is where the original idea comes from, is like you're supposed to get your hero, the person you want to be, and stick them up in your workspace so that, you know, it's a daily reminder of where you're headed. Well, for me, like, that image has been my hero image for the last couple of years, and it's the one reminder that I've had of you know, the vision and where I'm trying to go. And, you know, it's time to have some more done, because, you know, I love that picture, and I've got a new hero vision of the, you know, the cyberpunk guitar hero, and I'm going to, you know, describe that. I'm going to send him the photos from the photo shoot and say, look, you know, this is sort of part of what the image is about. But yeah, I've got to work on that art brief, but I'm going to get that sent off, and I'm really excited to see what he can do for me. And then the other thing I've got going on is that I'm a tech nerd. I'm always window shopping computers, and these days, you know, I'm always window shopping for what's my next studio PC going to be, my next computer that's going to be my main music making computer. And, you know, I've gone, you know, my current laptop, which you might even be able to hear whirring away over there, has been great. It's extremely powerful laptop. It's one of those huge, big, chunky gaming laptops, and I bought it because it was one of the most powerful laptops you could buy at the time for not, less money than you would pay for other brands. It's actually like a rebadged Clevo. What was it? A P750D, which has basically got like a desktop Intel Skylake CPU in it, which is fantastic. It's like 4 gigahertz quad core, 32 gig of RAM, amazing machine. The only problem with it, as you may well be able to hear, is that it's really loud. When it's working hard, it's a really loud machine, and that's becoming a problem now that, I've got this booth set up, and I need to be able to record vocals, and that's the recording machine, but the machine's sitting there whirring away and making all of this noise while I'm trying to record vocals, and it's becoming unacceptable. And so the number one thing I want from my new machine is it needs to be no less powerful, but it needs to be as good as completely silent. And as well as filling my other needs, such as being reasonably portable, and also being able to power it off batteries, because I'd really like to be able to go busking. I'd like to be able to take my gear places, and everything else about my setup can either be battery powered or is really low power USB powered, etc. And I can run them all, everything else, off a relatively small inverter off a battery. But the laptop is an absolute power hog. It's got a 250 watt power brick, which is just almost unheard of in laptop. But that's what you get when you buy what is basically a desktop PC stuffed into a laptop case, which is what I bought and what I knew I was buying. But it's extremely power hungry, and it gets very loud when the fans spin up. And so I've been going around and around and around looking for different possibilities for what that next PC was going to be, and I had thought that I was going to get a laptop. I really wanted to get a tablet, like a Microsoft Surface Pro or something. But looking at all of those tablets, either the Lenovo Carbon 2-in-1 or the HP Spectre or the Microsoft Surface, for example, the problem with all of them is that they have very few ports. They're completely non-user upgradable. Many of them actually have like the RAM and even like the storage, like the SSD hard drive, all soldered onto a single board. Like they don't even have sockets, let alone a case that you can open or anything like that. And I would be willing to accept that, except that they are also incredibly expensive machines, like really expensive. Like because you can't upgrade it after the fact, like you need to order it with everything you could ever want, like so maximum RAM, maximum hard drive storage, etc., because you can't change it once you receive it. And so to get one of them, I'm staring down the barrel of like a 4,000 Australian dollar PC. And then it's still a bit of a compromise because it doesn't have many ports. Like they've got like 1 or 2 USB ports, and maybe they have a video port, maybe they don't, or it's all USB-C or whatever. And just too many compromises. And so I've realized that I don't actually need the ultra portability. I just want something that's luggable, that will run off something that's low power, that will run off a battery, but is still quite a powerful computer. And I've discovered that the proper solution is actually to get a NUC, like the Intel NUC, Next Unit Computing devices, because they're these tiny little computers. They're mostly made from laptop components, but they have RAM sockets, they have hard drive sockets. You can even put a 2.5-inch hard drive in it, but the whole thing is only 4 inches by 4 inches by 2.5 or something, and they can be powered from a 65 watt or a 90 watt laptop adapter, and you can get external batteries, and you can get, you know, car adapters for these things, etc. So running it off a battery is very reasonable. And you can also get, and this is the great thing about the Intel NUC ecosystem, is there's a whole lot of aftermarket cases, and you can get completely fanless cases for them, which is brilliant, because I will be able to have a genuinely completely fanless PC, and then couple that with those USB screens that you can get these days, which is a new product that's been, you know, slowly coming to market over the last couple of years. Is you can now get screens like a PC screen that looks like a tablet. It basically looks like a you know, like an iPad sort of tablet, but it's just an external screen that you can plug into a computer to use as a second monitor. And some of these, like, they're even just powered by USB. Like they'll use USB-C to plug in, and gets power from the USB as well as the video feed. And, you know, you can get full HD ones, and you can get them even down to like 11 inches in size. And I really like that idea as being a screen. There's an 11-inch touchscreen one that you can get from G-Chic. It's $500, which is not cheap, but it's a great solution, because that's a screen that I can potentially just put in amongst my keyboard gear here, and it's just part of my control surface layout. And the little nook can be, you know, tucked in somewhere behind my keyboard or whatever, and it's completely silent, so I can have all of this inside the studio where I'm running the microphone, and I don't have all this noise going in the mic. And it can be battery powered, and it's small and portable. And the new 10 series Nooks, the processors are, you know, these are like very mobile, very low power processors that are approximately, because it's 5 years later, the same power as that laptop that was a, you know, 6700K Skylake Intel desktop CPU from 5 years ago. So yay progress. But I won't be doing anything with that for a couple of months yet, but I'm excited to have finally figured out what I'm going to do there. And so that's my update. I've got to run, and thanks for watching. Hopefully next week I'll be telling you all about how I've been practicing my guitar karaoke set, and you know, I hope to put some videos of that up on the feed soon. So thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.